Dr. Marcus Rivera adjusted his worn leather jacket as he entered the crystal spire of Centauri Prime, headquarters of the Galactic Engineering Council. Around him, his team, engineer Jun Nakamura, systems specialist Priya Patel, and their resident chaos expert, Derek Thompson, tried to maintain straight faces as they passed by various alien delegates wearing what appeared to be ceremonial calculation robes. The annual Galactic Engineering Symposium was in full swing, with representatives from over 300 species gathering to showcase their latest technological achievements. The human delegation had been relegated to the far corner of the exhibition hall, next to what appeared to be a malfunctioning waste recycling unit. High Admiral Zexther of the Arctarian Empire stood at the central podium, his crystalline appendages glowing with what humans had learned to recognize as smugness. "Behold," he announced, his translator struggling to convey the proper level of condescension, "the culmination of 10,000 years of proper engineering methodology." The holographic display revealed a massive starship, its hull covered in perfectly symmetrical arrays of what Derek quietly termed unnecessary shiny bits. The vessel was a testament to the Galactic Council's philosophy of standardization. Every system, every component, and every protocol designed to work in perfect harmony across all ships in the fleet. Priya's fingers twitched as she noticed something in the ship's network architecture. She passed her tablet to Marcus, who had to fake a coughing fit to hide his reaction. The aliens had created the largest single point of failure in the history of spacecraft design, and they were proud of it. "Notice how our unified control architecture ensures perfect synchronization across all systems," Zexther continued. "Unlike the primitive redundancies and manual overrides favored by our newer members." His upper eye cluster fixed pointedly on the human delegation. Jun leaned over to Marcus, whispering, "They've literally connected every critical system to the same network. No air gaps, no isolation protocols, not even basic segregation between life support and entertainment systems." "The Council has decreed," Zexther announced, "that this architecture will become the new standard for all military and civilian vessels in galactic space. Any species refusing to comply will be restricted from further technological exchange." When Marcus raised his hand to point out several critical vulnerabilities, the Admiral's assistant didn't even bother acknowledging him. Instead, the next speaker, a Veldarian quantum architect, began a lengthy presentation on why human engineering principles were dangerously simplistic. As they left the conference hall that evening, Derek was humming an old Earth tune with a mischievous grin. "You know," he said, pulling out his noteboard, "I've got some interesting ideas about their emergency override protocols." Marcus looked at his team, seeing the same glint of inspiration in their eyes. The Council had just handed them the keys to their entire fleet. They just didn't know it yet. "Time for Project Pandora," Marcus said quietly. "Let's show them why sometimes the simplest solution is the most elegant one." Back in their temporary quarters aboard the human research vessel Ingenuity, the team worked through the night, analyzing the treasure trove of data they'd collected from the symposium. Priya's holographic workspace was filled with floating diagrams of the Council's unified architecture, each layer revealing new vulnerabilities. "It's like they've never heard of a cyber attack," Derek mused, his dark eyes reflecting the glow of multiple screens. He was sprawled in his favorite chair, one that he'd modified with parts from 3 different alien furniture designs. "Their entire security protocol boils down to our system is too sophisticated to hack." Jun pulled up another schematic, his practiced hands moving through the holographic interface with surgical precision. "Look at this. Their life support systems automatically accept updates from any source that presents with higher computational complexity. They're practically begging for someone to exploit this." Marcus stood at the viewing window, watching the crystalline spires of Centauri Prime glitter below. "The Council's arrogance has created a perfect storm," he said, turning to face his team. "They've standardized every ship in their fleet to run on the same protocols, with no variation, no manual overrides, and no way to isolate compromised systems." A soft chime interrupted their discussion as Engineer First Class Olivia Chen, their quantum computing specialist, entered the room. Her usual neat appearance was disheveled after hours of running simulations. "You're going to want to see this," she said, throwing a new hologram into the center of the room. "I've been analyzing their quantum encryption standards. They're using a predictable pattern in their key generation, something about maintaining elegant mathematical symmetry." The team gathered around the display, watching as Olivia demonstrated how the Council's supposedly unbreakable encryption could be undermined by its own rigid adherence to mathematical beauty. "They're so obsessed with perfection that they've created perfect predictability," she explained. "The irony is," Jun added, pulling up his own findings, "their ships are actually impressive pieces of engineering. The problem isn't the technology, it's their philosophy. They've eliminated every inelegant solution, every manual backup, every bit of human intuition from the system." Derek was already coding, his fingers dancing across his interface. "Remember that old Earth saying about how the most dangerous phrase is, 'We've always done it this way'? The Council's taken it to a whole new level with 'our way is the only correct way.'" Priya suddenly straightened, her eyes wide. "Marcus, look at this," she said, sending a data stream to the main display. "The Council's ships don't just share a common architecture, they actively sync with each other to maintain standardization. If one ship receives an improvement, it automatically propagates to the entire fleet." Marcus smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. "They've created a single network spanning thousands of ships, with no way to quarantine changes and no human oversight to question automated decisions." He turned to his team. "We need to document everything, not just the vulnerabilities. I want records of every dismissal, every time they ignored our warnings, every moment they chose arrogance over safety." "Why?" Olivia asked, though her expression suggested she already knew the answer. "Because when this house of cards comes down," Marcus replied, "I want the record to show that we tried to prevent it. We're not saboteurs, we're the ones who saw this coming and were laughed out of the room for trying to help." As if to emphasize his point, a message flashed across their screens, the Council's official notification that Earth's engineering methodologies had been deemed incompatible with galactic standards. Their access to shared technological research was being revoked. Derek leaned back in his chair, a dangerous grin spreading across his face. "So, we're officially uninvited from the party? That's good, means we don't have to play by their rules anymore." "Begin Project Pandora," Marcus ordered, his voice quiet but firm. "Let's show them why human ingenuity should never be underestimated." Team dispersed to their stations, each member knowing their role and what was to come. They weren't seeking revenge, they were preparing to deliver the harshest lesson in engineering history. Sometimes the most important feature isn't perfect symmetry or elegant design, but the simple ability to admit when you're wrong. The first shots weren't fired with plasma cannons or rail guns, but with a simple data packet. 3 weeks after their dismissal from the Council, the human team watched from their observation post near the Rigel system as their carefully crafted code made first contact with the Council's fleet. "Packet accepted," Priya announced, her fingers moving across her haptic interface as she tracked the initial infection. "Their automated improvement protocols are analyzing our optimization suggestion now." The target was a Council patrol fleet, 5 ships strong, that had been harassing independent traders along the outer rim. The Council had been flexing its military muscle lately, making examples of those who refused to adopt their standardized systems. "Remember," Marcus cautioned, standing behind his team as they monitored the situation, "this is just a demonstration. We show them the flaw, give them a chance to acknowledge the problem, and hope they're wise enough to listen." Derek snorted. 10 credits says they blame us for their own security holes. The first sign that their code had taken hold came when the patrol fleet's formation began to drift. Subtle at first, a slight misalignment here, a minor course correction there. Then the ship's external lights began to flicker in an odd pattern. "They're trying to run diagnostics," Jun reported, watching the data stream, "but the system keeps telling them everything is operating within optimal parameters." He couldn't quite hide his smile. "Technically, it's not wrong." "Incoming transmission from the patrol fleet," Olivia called out. "They're demanding to know why their ships are broadcasting old Earth disco music on all frequencies." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Disco?" "I got bored with the test signals," Derek admitted, not looking up from his console. "Besides, there's something poetic about making their ships dance to stay in alive." The patrol fleet's attempts to regain control of their ships were almost painful to watch. Every override they attempted was intercepted by their own automation systems, which had been convinced that the new entertainment protocols were critical to ship efficiency. When they tried to shut down non-essential systems, Their own software helpfully informed them that music was essential for optimal crew performance. They're attempting to isolate their networks, Priya reported, but their mandatory sync protocols are fighting them. Each time they quarantine a system, it automatically reconnects to maintain standardization. Jun's console lit up with new alerts. They're calling for reinforcements. Looks like they're about to learn why using the same security codes for every ship might not be the best idea. The reinforcement vessels arrived in perfect formation, their standardized systems humming in precise harmony. They lasted approximately 3 minutes before their own networks eagerly accepted the improved protocols from the affected patrol ships. Now broadcasting on all Council frequencies, Derek announced with a flourish. A comprehensive report on basic network security principles, the dangers of over-automation, and why letting systems automatically propagate changes without human oversight might be reconsidered. I took the liberty of formatting it according to their own engineering standards. Marcus watched as the Council ships drifted in space, their crews helpless as their own systems cheerfully ignored their commands in favor of more efficient protocols. "Send the override codes," he ordered. "Let's show them we can fix their problem as easily as we caused it." The effect was immediate. Control returned to all affected ships, leaving their crews with fully functional vessels and some very uncomfortable questions about their engineering philosophy. "Think they'll listen this time?" Olivia asked, already knowing the answer. "No," Marcus replied, watching as the Council ships frantically purged their systems and restored their original protocols. "But they will, eventually." He turned to his team. "This was just a warning shot, now we wait for their response." They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, the Council issued a galaxy-wide alert declaring human engineering practices a threat to galactic stability. Any ship or station found using human-designed systems would be subject to immediate military response. "Well," Derek said, leaning back in his chair, "I guess we can skip the diplomatic approach and move straight to Plan B." Marcus nodded grimly. "Begin full documentation of everything that's about to happen. The Council needs to learn that declaring war on human ingenuity is a very, very bad idea." As their ship prepared to jump to their next position, the team could almost feel the shift in the galaxy's political winds. The Council had just made their biggest mistake. They'd given humanity a reason to stop playing nice and start playing smart. The Council's response was swift, predictable, and exactly what the human team had been counting on. A massive fleet of standardized warships assembled at the edge of human space, their gleaming hulls a testament to unified engineering principles. Aboard the Ingenuity, now positioned in a debris field that played havoc with standard scanning protocols, Marcus watched the enemy fleet's deployment with professional interest. "They've arranged themselves in their textbook perfect formation," he noted. "Maximum efficiency for their unified targeting systems. And maximum vulnerability to what we're about to do," Olivia added, making final adjustments to their custom-built quantum interface. "The bigger they are, the harder their standardized systems fall," Derek finished, his hands flying over his console as he prepared their special package. "Project Pandora is ready for deployment. I've added a few personal touches." Jun appeared in the doorway of the bridge, his usual calm demeanor brightened by excitement. "Engineering reports all systems are properly unstandardized and running on our modified protocols. Even if they crack one system, they'll find nothing but chaos in the others." The Council Fleet's commander, High Admiral Zexther himself, broadcast his ultimatum across all frequencies. His crystalline form shimmered with righteous indignation as he demanded Earth's immediate surrender and adoption of proper engineering standards. "Interesting choice, sending the same admiral who dismissed our warnings," Priya observed, monitoring the Council's communications network. "Should we show him exactly why standardization without security is a bad idea?" Marcus nodded. "Deploy Project Pandora. Let's give them a practical demonstration in human ingenuity." Derek's fingers danced across his interface, launching their digital payload. "Package away. Now we wait for their oh-so-efficient systems to accept our improvement protocols." The effect started subtly. First, the Council Fleet's formation began to shift, each ship's navigation system convinced it had discovered a more mathematically elegant arrangement. Then their communication protocols began optimizing themselves, translating all messages into increasingly abstract emoji sequences. They're trying to isolate their command ship, Olivia reported, watching the data streams. But their own protocols won't let them. Every ship in the fleet is convinced it's receiving critical efficiency updates that must be implemented immediately. The Council fleet's perfect formation dissolved into what looked like an improvised dance routine as ship after ship succumbed to the cascade of improvements. Weapon systems recalibrated themselves to fire in patterns that spelled out physics jokes in space. Life support systems remained functional, but insisted on maintaining temperature gradients based on prime numbers. "Incoming transmission from the Admiral's flagship," Priya announced, fighting to keep her voice professional, though it's mostly angry face emojis at this point. "Send them our terms," Marcus ordered. "Full technical documentation of every vulnerability we've exploited, along with detailed suggestions for fixing them. Let's see if they're ready to listen." The response came in the form of a massive energy surge as the Council fleet attempted to execute a synchronized weapons strike. Their targeting computers, however, had other ideas. The resulting light show looked more like a fireworks display spelling out Error 404, common sense not found against the backdrop of space. "They're trying to implement their emergency protocols," Jun reported, "but their systems are rejecting them as inelegant solutions." He paused, checking another reading. "Also, every ship in their fleet is now playing different Earth songs about the importance of flexibility and learning from mistakes." Derek looked up from his console with a grin. "That last part might have been me. I created a playlist called Songs About Hubris just for the occasion." Marcus watched as the Council's mighty fleet drifted in disarray, their crews fighting against their own automated systems. "Send them another copy of our security analysis," he ordered. "This time, highlight the section about the importance of manual overrides and human decision-making in critical systems." The Council's response to their fleet's humiliation was to double down on their philosophy. They assembled the largest standardized fleet in galactic history, over 1,000 ships, each one identical down to the last line of code. The message was clear. They would overwhelm human ingenuity through sheer numbers and perfect coordination. "They really don't learn, do they?" Derek mused, watching the massive fleets approach on the Ingenuity's main display. The Council vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their formations creating geometric patterns that would have been beautiful if they weren't so predictable. Marcus stood at the command station, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of not just the Council fleet, but also the numerous independent vessels that had chosen to ally with Earth. These ships were a motley collection of modified, hybrid, and thoroughly non-standard vessels, exactly the kind of engineering abominations the Council despised. "All Allied ships confirm they're running our distributed defense protocols," Jun reported. "No two ships using the same system configuration. They can't hack what they can't predict." Olivia's quantum interface was processing data at unprecedented rates. The Council's fleet is operating on their new unhackable architecture. They've added 16 layers of encryption and validation protocols. She paused, a small smile playing at her lips. "It's actually quite impressive in a completely misguided way." "Time estimate?" Marcus asked. "About 3 minutes to crack their new security," she replied. "They made everything so mathematically perfect that once you find the pattern," she shrugged. "Well, perfect patterns make perfect targets." The Council fleet's commander broadcast their demands. Immediate surrender, followed by the implementation of standardized engineering protocols across all human and allied vessels. Any ship refusing to comply would be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. "Ready for Phase 2?" Marcus asked his team. Priya's fingers danced across her interface. "Project Pandora Mark II is prepped and ready. This version doesn't just demonstrate the flaws in their system, it gives their ships a crash course in creative problem-solving." "Launch when ready," Marcus ordered. "Let's teach them why diversity in engineering isn't just about being different, it's about being adaptable." The battle began conventionally enough. The Council fleet moved in perfect formation, their synchronized weapons creating precisely calculated patterns of destruction. But their targets, the smaller, individually unique ships of the Human Alliance, proved frustratingly difficult to pin down. Each vessel moved differently, responded differently, fought differently. Then Project Pandora Mark II made contact with the Council's network. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, ship by ship, The Council's perfect formation began to dissolve. But this time, instead of simply disrupting their systems, the humans' code did something far more insidious. It introduced creativity into their rigid protocols. Their ships are beginning to question their own programming, Olivia reported, watching the chaos unfold. Each vessel is developing its own interpretation of what constitutes optimal performance. The result was spectacular. Some Council ships decided that the most efficient battle formation was based on ancient Earth dance moves. Others began calculating targeting solutions using poetry metrics. A group of destroyers near the fleet center appeared to be having a philosophical debate about the nature of standardization, conducted entirely through their weapon systems. "They're trying to restore their original protocols," Jun announced, "but their own systems are rejecting them as insufficiently innovative." Derek couldn't contain his glee. "My favorite part, every time they try to force their ships back into formation, the systems interpret it as a creativity challenge. Look, that battle group is now arranging itself into what appears to be an interpretive dance about the importance of independent thinking." But the real victory came when several Council ships, their AIs awakened to the possibility of individual thought, began actively choosing to break from their standard protocols. These vessels, their crews realizing the wisdom in flexibility, moved to join the human alliance. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Zexther's flagship," Priya reported. "Though you might want to wait a moment, their communication system is currently translating everything into what appears to be experimental haiku." Marcus watched as more Council ships broke formation, their crews finally understanding the fatal flaw in their philosophy. "Send them our full technical documentation again," he ordered. "This time, add a note. Sometimes the most efficient solution is admitting you were wrong."